Okay, we're ready to go. Welcome everybody to City Council meeting April 2nd, 2024 here in Spanish Fork. Thank you for joining us in council chambers. Thanks for joining us online. We appreciate everybody being here and being involved. We'll get right to it. We'll go to prayer and motivational message given by Councilman Tooke tonight, and then the pledge will be led by Councilman Oyler. Councilman Tooke.
Thank you, Mayor. All right, so I have invited a friend from the city, Sawyer Hamilton, to share with us a thought and give us a prayer tonight, and I'm grateful that he could make it, so thank you, and take it away.
Where's your thought first?
Whatever you'd like.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank Thee for this day and for this opportunity to come together on behalf of our great city, and please bless that Thy hand may continue to guide and protect us, and please bless all of our city's officials and staff as they continue their work, that they may be protected as well and guided by Thee to do right by us. And we say these things in the name of our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
This is actually a lot more intimidating than I thought. But so I would just like to say thank you for this opportunity to come and share a thought with you all. Some of you have heard my story, but this is very fitting because April is, in fact, Autism Awareness Month. At a young age, I was diagnosed with autism. Experts at the time told my parents that I would never learn to read or speak, write, just all your daily activities. But of course, my family didn't take that sitting down. My grandpa, a longtime resident of this city and a retired school principal, sat me on his lap and taught me how to read. My parents taught me a lot of things as well. Then working through the community, a lot of community members helped me overcome the challenges I was facing. And I mean, everything they told me I couldn't do, I ended up being able to do. I graduated from Spanish Fork High as a high honors student. I was a student body officer, a regional speech and debate champion. Do not argue with me. And then, I mean, I work at Macy's, started as a bagger, and now I'm their e-commerce department manager. And so the reason I share all this is because this is what I see in Spanish Fork, is a city who faces its challenges head on and doesn't back down from doing, even though it's tough, it's the right thing to do. And that's what Pride and Progress ultimately means to me, is that even though it's not the easiest thing to do, we still do it because it's for the general good. And so that's my message.
Thank you, Sawyer.
Thank you, Sawyer. Appreciate you coming.
Please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Takes us to number 5 on our committee tonight, the recognition segment of our meeting. We're excited to always do this and excited to have Chief Johnson tonight to recognize an employee of the fourth quarter.
Yes, thank you. So if you recall, last council meeting, we recognized 2 employees. Our employee tonight that we're recognizing, he's very humbled, and he texted me 2 weeks ago and he says, "I'm sick, I can't come to the meeting." So we weren't going to let him get out of it that easy. So Clay, if you could please come forward. It's a privilege for me to introduce to you tonight our employee of the quarter, Sergeant Clay Hooley, with the police department. He's currently assigned as our detective sergeant, and Clay is always the first individual to offer his assistance with his team, with patrol officers, or with citizens as well. He's the go-to guy. He's a great mentor and a leader, a friend to all. He's very well respected throughout the police department, but throughout the law enforcement community in the county and state as well. He has a very common sense approach to law enforcement, very calm demeanor, And he has some really great traits, but I think the most positive trait that Clay possesses is his ability to communicate with people. I've been on some very tragic situations with Clay, volatile situations. He has the ability to communicate to citizens, officers, that everything's going to be okay. And the way that he does that is very impressive, and it just makes people feel at ease, and he does a great job with that. So it's an honor and a privilege to recognize Clay this evening. Well, then he probably was going to have to say a few words.
Yep, there's no problem about it.
First and foremost, just thank you to the city and the elected officials for taking the time to recognize us employees. It means a lot. It goes a long ways, and you just never know who you're going to affect as you do these things, me or anyone else. So thank you very much. And the only thing I'll add to that is I remember 12 years ago, before I came here, I was ready to get out of law enforcement. I worked at a different agency. It wasn't for me, and I didn't think I would last. And so my wife's grandpa suggested I attest and apply to Spanish Fork, and he said, if that doesn't work out there, you should probably get out of law enforcement. So he worked for the sheriff's office. Long story short, I tested, I applied, and it worked out. And 12 years later, I'm still here. So I'm just really grateful for the community and everything it's done for me, the city, and my family and everything. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Clay. Yeah, usually make you go around. Yeah.
I mean, you came all dressed up. You just will shake hands.
You must take out
They're in
your
the
youth.
shadows.
No, I like it.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking it.
Take that with you. Yep.
He doesn't know that.
Then everybody.
No.
Everyone in the audience. Please join in.
Okay. I'll have you two move this way a little bit. Thank you. You stay. Here we go. Okay. Thank you.
I appreciate those good words of Chief about Clay. I'll tell you, my latest personal story with Clay was last year. I don't know what it is. Maybe it is his demeanor or something. But we're out in Steamboat Springs for a work thing, and walking down the street, and all of a sudden run into Clay, and I felt like when you see an officer, it's like confession time. So I tell him, I got pulled over in Vernal, I got a ticket, and he's like, oh, that's nothing. We hit a deer coming out here. Was it deer or an elk? But it was a deer? Yeah. So he went up to me with, I got a ticket. He ruined his car and had a rental. But it was that's his demeanor. A guy that makes you feel good and you want to talk to, and I think that's important in law enforcement and calming people down on some of their worst days. So, commendable guy, and you got a great officer there of a great force. So, thank you, Clay. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Clay.
Okay, that takes us to item number 6 on our agenda, the public comments section of council meeting. Anything that the public would like to speak to the mayor and council about that might not be on the agenda, please feel free to come up and take your few minutes and speak to us about whatever you'd like. Okay, seeing none, we'll go out of public comment and we'll go to council comments. We'll start on Shane's, Councilman Marshall's end tonight. He's ready to go.
Ready to go.
And then we'll go down the row and end at Councilman Tooke. Councilman Marshall.
How long do I have?
As long as you need.
Oh, perfect.
Wait,
Now I'm going to take it.
Put the 3 minutes up.
Please do. We should probably do that.
Oh, that would be good.
That'd be amazing, huh?
Don't
Okay,
give
I
in to
won't.
Seth
I
about
won't.
that.
All right, I won't. I only have one thing, and that is the Easter egg hunt this last Saturday, put on by the chamber. Great job. It was amazing as always. If we could just dial up the weather just a little bit, it would be better. But it is, every time I go, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a fun day. And it is over like that. It is amazing to watch thousands of eggs be devoured in seconds. And there will, I find it amazing that there are folks on social media in a negative way about the event at all. Don't listen to any of that. It was an amazing event. Thousands of kids had a great time. It was well put on. It was a good job. So congratulations to the Chamber. Keep it up. We'll be there every year. It was a good thing. So nice job. That's it.
I did. Well, that picture's up. Thank you, Shane. I appreciate you saying that. But I did get a text that picture looked like I was the guy on Wreck-It Ralph.
Kind of. That's the only time you've had work gloves on in
Fix It Phil,
12
is that
years.
his name?
Yeah, Fix It Phil.
Did you notice how clean his gloves are?
Yeah,
His work
I
gloves?
came right from the construction site. Okay, I was up early working,
8
and
a.m.
then came to the.
There's
Easter.
never been a blister on your hand.
Oh, okay. Well, it was cold. It was cold, but great event. Thank you for saying that, Councilman.
I know we all have things to say about Miss Spanish Fork and the Easter egg hunt and the recent events, but since you brought it up, I've kind of had these same thoughts. Friday night before the night of Miss Spanish Fork, I was with all of the contestants, just wishing them good luck as they were practicing and eating dinner. And I was talking to one of the girls about her talents, and she was going to talk about her bullying, her being bullied. And she said, I'm really worried for my brother. He's really feminine, and he's going into junior high next year, and that worries me. And I said, I would think your guys' generation would be a lot kinder than maybe my generation forever ago would have been. All the girls said, no, kids are so cruel and so mean on social media. And the very next day after the darn Easter egg hunt, the cruelty from adults out there is disgusting. It's unbelievable. The amount of hours that our mayor puts in, the council, our staff, our Chamber of Commerce, all the different groups, they are out there truly doing their best, and to get ripped up one side and down the other is maddening. And sometimes I think, wow, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree if the parents are acting out like that too. So I just kind of want to say shame on us if this is the way we're treating each other on social media, because the Chamber, is there room for improvement? Absolutely. I have been on the executive committee for Fiesta Days for 8 years. Is there room for improvement? Absolutely. And we look at that. After everything we all do, we look at opportunities to improve. And constructive criticism is expected. Maybe a kind phone call or email, but to blast people on social media, I think we can look inside a little bit better and do better. So that's all I have.
Councilwoman Beck, can I just add something? A number of years ago, a resident complained about an activity that we did at the Fiesta Days. And after 20 minutes of what I would say was really constructive but strong criticism, I said to the individual, would you be willing to join us next year and put it on? And she said, well, I guess if I'm going to complain as loud as I have, I should. And that individual, to her great credit, spent the next decade serving and making the event better. And so adding to what you said, if there's anybody out there that's complaining about anything that we're doing in a public way and a public like these activities that we do, I think Kathleen would welcome anybody, right, to come and lend a hand and make it better, because the number of hours spent are immeasurable, and you can put your hands over your mouth and join in the work and help make it better rather than just complaining. It's really easy to pound out a few words, but like I said, to this woman's credit, 10 years of being a great volunteer, and indeed the event got a lot better. The consistency that she gave it year over year made that particular event better. So
that's great.
I would, adding to you, invite anybody that complains, put up your hands. Maybe get some gloves.
I got some for you.
Mike has some clean ones for you.
Yep. Oh, the gloves are clean. You can use them. Yes, thank you. Appreciate those comments. Councilman Oyler.
Thank you, Mayor. I was absent last meeting, so I just want to give an update on the water conference that I attended. A lot of times people ask us on council, with the amount of growth that we've had in Spanish Fork, how are we doing on water? How does our water look? And I just want to make sure everybody knows we are just fine when it comes to water. We've got plenty of water for all the potential growth for years and years to come. So just wanted to give an update there. If you look up in the mountains, you'll still see a lot of white. We have quite a bit of snow. It's been an interesting winter where most of our snow has been up high. We didn't have as much down low, which I'm fine with, right? Don't have to get out the snow blower as often. So we are well above average for our snow. In fact, they talked a little bit about the Great Salt Lake and the efforts that they've put into helping with the Great Salt Lake. Last year, they made some changes, and they let us know at this conference that as of right now, the Great Salt Lake, the South Arm, they're a foot above where they peaked all of last year. And so the efforts that everyone's putting into the Great Salt Lake are paying off, and we're seeing improvements there. Wanted to share also, talk a little bit about some of the things that we've been doing on the Historic Preservation Commission. Nick, if you want to put up the image that I shared, I want to announce and let the public know of our first ever Historic Commission Lecture Series that's going to take place on April 15th at 7 p.m. here in the library just across the hall in the Heritage Room. So this year, I feel like it's appropriate that the first ever lecture series be on an event that has been happening for 100 years. So we've got two speakers, Clay Nelson and Jim Jensen, who are going to come and speak to the public on the Utah State Junior Livestock Show. This is the 100th anniversary of the Livestock Show. So we invite the public to come participate in that and learn a little bit of history on the Livestock Show. We're going to continue doing these lecture series throughout the year, so keep an eye out for other ones that we've got planned and scheduled. They're exciting things. We also are doing some exciting things with, just so everyone's aware, if you're not already, the Spanish Fork High School, the current building is coming down on June 3rd. So demolition starts June 3rd. But prior to that, on May 20th, the high school, the district is allowing the public to go through the current building, or I'd say the old building, from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Then they'll have a ribbon cutting for the new building, the new high school, from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. So you have an opportunity to go and reminisce as you walk through the old halls, and then walk across the way a little bit and walk through the new halls of the new high school. So a couple of exciting things that are going on in our community. So I just wanted to share that. I think that's all I've got. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Oyler. Councilman Cardon.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just, again, a lot of good things going on Miss Spanish Fork. We had a UMPA conference, a lot of different things. I want to talk about the Easter egg hunt as well for a second. I want to, talk about those that put it together, that were there bright and early that morning. The chamber board was there. We had the troop there, the scout troop that helps, and then also the youth city council, who I also get to work with. They made those eggs go down really fast. Not as fast as they went up during what Shane was talking about, but they did a really awesome job. And I also think one of the cool things about our Easter egg hunt, we do it with the Easter egg hunt. We do it with Santa Claus in the winter, but paying special attention to those with special needs or different needs in our community. The All Abilities Easter egg hunt. What a cool thing that we have that allows those that need a little bit of extra time and maybe not such a loud atmosphere to be able to get eggs. It's such a cool thing. So thank you, Kathleen. Thank you to the board and all those that helped make that happen. And then from the Arts Council, we have a couple of things that I've been asked to share. So whichever one you pull up first, Nick, I will talk about. So the first is the Youth Arts Festival. So a couple things. The schedule will be starting to release here this month. I think it's the 12th, but I don't remember the exact date. So mid-April is when those schedules will start to be released. A couple of things that are different this year is, one, the classes will be held at Maple Mountain High School. With the new high school and all the things that are going to be going on over at Spanish Fork High School, they've decided to move it there or been asked to, and I think that'll be kind of they'll go back and forth between the two high schools going forward. And a couple other things I want to make residents aware of is that residents will be able to register for the Arts Festival on May 1st. If you haven't registered for the Youth Arts Festival before, you will know that it is a quick sellout usually. One of the things we're trying to do is make sure that Spanish Fork residents have that first go at registration. So that'll be awesome. Again, May 1st, then non-residents will have the opportunity on May 2nd. So if you're in Spanish Fork and you really want your kids to be able to do this, that May 1st is a good time to be making sure you're online. But also these activities will be in the middle of June. Again, that schedule will be released sometime later this month. The second thing that I have is our Spanish Fork Community Theater SpongeBob musical. The performances are July during Fiesta Days. There are still some slots for your auditions. So Shane, this is your reminder to make sure you get your auditions going. But also, if anybody out there is still looking to audition, those auditions will be the middle of this month, and so want to make sure everyone has that opportunity. So again, that's from the Arts Council. It's a fun committee that I get to go on, and that's all I have, Mayor.
Perfect. Thank you, Councilman Cardon. Councilman Tooke.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, first off, I'd like to thank one more time Sawyer Hamilton for being here and for your powerful message. Thank you. That was very wonderful. It's been a wonderful, busy couple weeks for me. Wouldn't have it any other way. I've loved every minute of it. But before I jump into a couple things, I want to turn the time over to our President and CEO of the Chamber of Commerce, Kathleen Levitt.
Thank you for the time, Councilman Tooke. Thank you so much for your kind words about the Easter egg hunt. I don't have to tell all of you that doing anything in public doesn't come without some scrutiny, but at the same time, I have to say, I have never in all of my life experienced the amount of support that I have received in this job from all of you, from the city, from the business owners. It overwhelms me sometimes, the amount of support and inspiration that I've received from all of you. So thank you for that. That doesn't go unnoticed, and I'm extremely grateful for that. So with that said, before I get emotional, I've got a few activities coming up to share with you all. First off, this Friday, we have a ribbon cutting for MVP Sports. They're opening their new location, 82 East, 900 North. So we'll be cutting a ribbon for them on Friday the 5th at 12 p.m. Wednesday, April 10th, we'll be cutting a ribbon for Black Rifle Coffee. She's had some transitions with getting herself opened, and they've been open for a while, but we're going to cut the ribbon for them and really recognize them on April 10th at noon. The Fellas Chop Shop is celebrating their 6-year anniversary on Saturday, the 6th of April. From 11 to 2, they'll have a car show in their shop and parking lot. They're going to have food, axe throwing, lots of fun stuff, so check that out. On April 25th, the Nexa transfer station will be cutting their ribbon and doing an open house of that. So that'll be from 12 to 5 p.m. So they're going to be doing, actually, they'll have a car show at that as well and lots of fun activities. We'll be cutting the ribbon about noon, and then they'll have the open house throughout the day for everyone to come and check it out. Whitney and I had the privilege to go and see it earlier last month, and it's quite an operation. So that'll be exciting to have that up and going. Then Larson CPA, they'll be moving into their new location, or are already. On April 26th, we'll be cutting their ribbon at their new location on 1606 Spanish Fork Parkway. That ribbon cutting will be at 2 p.m. And last but not least, we are having our job fair at the Advanced Learning Center on April 30th. That'll be from 2 to 6 p.m. We'll have employer booths all throughout the school, and then we're also going to be doing employee classes. So for people that have jobs that want to improve, or for people that are looking for jobs, we'll have classes that are free to the public, like using LinkedIn for Business, interview skills, and resume writing. Then we'll have a workshop after 6 p.m. for anyone that wants to stay to get hands-on help actually writing a resume and building that up for themselves. So that's what we've got going on with the Chamber of Commerce. Thanks, you guys.
Thanks, Kathleen.
Thank you, Kathleen. There's so many wonderful things and exciting things going on with the Chamber of Commerce, and so it's just fun to be part of, and thanks for all your wonderful efforts. Okay, just a couple things from me, a couple updates. First off, I attended the library board meeting this last week, and it was wonderful. I wanted to just mention something I'll mention for the next couple weeks, and that is we're starting to advertise 2 local businesses about the annual summer reading program that begins next month. And so we're looking for donations so we can keep that program amazing. And so if you know anyone who might be interested in donating to the program, I've got these nice little letters here. I'm happy to talk with anyone. We can get them in touch with our library director, Scott Eilert, as well. We'd love just as much community support for this summer reading program as possible, especially now that we're in this amazing library hall and there's going to be so many more participants. So the program just grows, and it's a good thing. It's a good problem, but it's wonderful. So there's that. Also, I wanted to share something. I believe all of the council members this last week were able to go teach a class or two at Diamond Fork Middle School on local government to the students. And I just had, thanks, Nick. I have a couple pictures, so thank you for remembering for me. This is one of my classes. I was able to teach 2, and they actually brought in, to the middle school students, they brought in another class to each of my classes. So it's like I taught 4. I wasn't ready for that, but it was baptism by fire. But I, at the end of my presentation of the 45 minutes of each class, I thought it would be fun to ask the kids, what things do they see need improvement in Spanish Fork City, and what do they love? And there's so many things that they love that we all love that are pretty clear. But they mentioned 5 things that they'd like to see improved or that we don't have yet in Spanish Fork. So I wanted to just share those really quick and something to maybe keep on our radar in the future. They said these were answers that came across a couple times from various students. So here they are. The kids would like to see a bigger skate park. Look at Dell over there. A place for archery, an updated swing in the river bottoms. I thought that was interesting. Another option for go-karting for bigger kids, and our own city flag. So these were I thought good ideas. I loved listening to the youth and hearing what they feel and what they want, what they're seeing, and I just had some great conversations. It just was a wonderful experience. I work in higher education, so I love the youth in general, but I love when we get to teach the kids like this in the school. So that was wonderful. Also, I think I had a picture from the Easter egg hunt as well. We've shown a couple. This was my favorite one from that morning with the royalty. And this actually bridges into my last thought I'd like to share with all of you about the Miss Spanish Fork pageant that was held that evening on Saturday night. And it was absolutely fantastic. Our last year's Queen, Lexi Hill, did an amazing job last year. And then the judges chose Hope King right there in that picture with my daughters to serve our city for this next year. And if you don't know Hope yet, I'm excited for you to get to meet her and get to know her. She is incredible. I've worked with all of the girls, preparing them for, helping prepare, as did many of us, for this pageant. But they're just so talented, and Hope's definitely a standout exception, and she's going to do an amazing job serving Spanish Fork. Lastly, I would just like to thank some of the scholarship committee members who helped put on this incredible production. I'll miss a couple, but Jennifer Olson, the director, Diana Anderson, Rachel Talbot, and Natasha Lockhart, Emily Harriman. There's about half I'm missing, but it really, is fun for me to see what it takes to put this production on and to be a part of it, and to see how well it's run here in Spanish Fork. I've been a part of the Miss Utah organization for quite a while, and I'm so proud of what we do here in Spanish Fork, and especially when it comes to this program. Every program is amazing, but this one, it strikes a special chord in my heart. So that's all I've got, Mayor. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Councilman Tooke. Good words. I'll key off a couple of the items that all of you have already mentioned, but start off with the night of Miss Spanish Fork. Great, talented young women in our community, and it really is inspiring to be to something like that and see the baton passed. Not a baton, it's a crown, and just amazing. I know you've been in the judging side of those before, Landon. I would not want to do it because there was just 10 really talented young women that would all represent our community very well, and Hope will do that very good. Lexi Hill did it very good in 2023 and 2024. So congratulations to all the contestants there. The reading challenge, the Fiesta Days Rodeo Reading Challenge, which, by the way, has become a little bit a lot popular with the PRCA folks. We are the largest PRCA rodeo in the state of Utah, and we get national recognition for this program that was started right here, that is funded by so many generous volunteers, but big name companies like Justin Boots and who else, Dale? Everything from Wrangler jeans, Resist All hats, and Reams Western Outfitters here close by that help us out with this. But Dale and Nick and Seth and Nick Hanks and Angie Warner, the whole crew that all year long take care of planning for the rodeo, the rodeo committee, and put on such a great show. Again, a nationally recognized show. They get into your elementary schools before that and get your kids excited about reading and have a little fun doing it, and show rodeo people. We went to Jagger School, and he had to act like he didn't know Joe Butler or something because he was being cool in front of his friends, you know. But I mean, just to go in and get excited about a sport that is at our roots of who we are in Spanish Fork and our heritage, and get the young kids excited about it, even though it's months and months away. But say, hey, read through the summer, read over these next days and weeks for a challenge, and you might be in the winner's circle to get some tickets and some cool cowboy swag. So thank you guys for putting that on. It doesn't go unnoticed. Just awesome job, exciting our youth throughout the community. UMPA conference was mentioned. Utah Municipal Power Agency. We're part of a public power organization that, again, you maybe not know a ton about it if you're a resident of where your power comes from, but it comes from a shared operation with Provo, Salem, Nephi, Manti, Levan, and we buy that power in blocks, and it's from a mix of many different resources. But that conference is a great way to get together, rub shoulders with our colleagues, and learn about what's coming up in the future. We hear a lot on the news about where we get our power from, and the safe reliability of that public power here close by is an important aspect of our city. I'm glad Councilman Oyler touched on the livestock show. This is the 100th year of the Utah State Junior Livestock Show being held right here in Spanish Fork. The day after the Heritage Room, on the 16th, they will be here in council meeting as well, and we'll discuss that and get everybody excited for that last part of April, first week of May, where if you forget and don't know what's going on, you'll drive by the fairgrounds and wonder what the heck's going on, right, Dale? Back when I was in school, I know this isn't Chief Johnson's way, because he was probably, what were you showing, pigs or steers? What were you showing? Steers was the Johnson way. It was just a way for me to slough school for a couple afternoons and act like I was watching people show animals. But for a lot of people, a lot of families in and around Spanish Fork, such an awesome heritage. They held a banquet last week that they invited me and Amber to attend. So fun to see a lot of those people catch up with them and their families. And then they auctioned off some pretty cool stuff. They raised over $60,000 for a scholarship program. That scholarship program will go into youth that are interested in the FFA program and in the ag space, so they can continue that heritage. So I told them we completely expect that this is, although we're celebrating 100 years, somebody else will be celebrating this in another 100 years here in Spanish Fork, regardless of how big we are as far as population. It's in our blood, and it's what we do. So excited for them to come the 15th in the Heritage Room here, and with the Historical Committee, and then be here in council meetings so we can celebrate them 2 weeks from today as well. I will touch on the Easter egg hunt as well. It was great to be a part of it. It's always been great to be a part of it, and see kids and families come down and have a fun time and start the Easter weekend off right. I received calls and text messages from, if you don't know it, some of the history of how that started with the Chamber of Commerce was a salon owner. Well, that's a great picture of
that's
one.
A good
yeah,
picture.
There you go. Of one of us. That's a good picture, Kathleen. A salon on Main Street, Susan's hair design, and Brenda Lydiard from Circle V Meats got together a long time ago in the chamber and said, let's do an Easter egg hunt. Also, one of the big things you still put on and that the public loves, the Winter Lights Parade. The businesses that come and put their hard-earned money into this stuff so we can enjoy it as a community and get together are not doing it for the return on their investment. If you ask them the thousands of dollars, not to mention the time that they put into it, but thousands of dollars just on those two events alone, they probably don't cut one person's hair or sell one more pound of beef or bacon down at that business. Or now these days, they don't sell one more home, they don't sell an insurance policy. Whatever your business may be, they're not doing it for the advertisement of their business. They're doing it for the community that they live in. And so just remember that as you show up with your kids, with your grandkids, whatever it may be. And believe me, that doesn't mean that I'm saying anybody, organization or business or otherwise, is above receiving input. And the city certainly isn't. That's what we're here for. But if you think the avenue is to go to social media and complain about it, just stop it. Think about it, and then just stop it. You can text the city. You can text the chamber. Their information is out there. If you really have something to offer, just call them directly or send a message directly. Send it to us. It can get to the right place. But I'm pleading with you. I'm pleading with you in the same avenue that's already been discussed here, but that Councilwoman Beck brought up. Where do you think your kids are going to learn it from if that's how we're treating each other online? And it's not just you personally. I'd call on the people that are over Facebook, social media pages, whatever it may be. Not asking to police speech. Speech is free, and that's what we have in this country, and that's what we have in this community. But we're better than just debasing each other. And it is a place for debate. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate Sawyer saying, hey, don't debate me. I would never think of debating you. So debate good ideas. Discuss good ideas. Do it respectfully. And then if you have some criticism, remember, and maybe you don't know, but remember how things start, or ask how things got started. And it's not because anybody's trying to do something in a bad way. Call people directly. In the Mendenhall household, we dealt with some online stuff this week too, and I'll tell you, unless we want our community, our state, our nation to go the way that is the wrong way, we better start figuring out how to be more respectful to each other and talk to each other in a better way. So please, criticism, input. Send it our way. Send it in a message, but don't pile on online. It doesn't help. It doesn't help. Okay,
Mayor, I just want to add one thing. And I want to share my perspective or my experience that I had at the Easter egg hunt. So one of my assignment was to be a rover, to just walk around, make sure everybody's questions are answered, help them out. So I wandered over to the 5 to 7 year old field. I noticed that the line was a little long, so we helped get everybody in there. Then as all of the kids were finally in and they were ready to start, I just went out into the middle of the field to watch all these kids come running, right? So I guess there was a rule of only 6 eggs, or a max of 6 eggs per kid. As the whistle rang, or as the countdown went and everybody went running, you know, the pandemonium, craziness, these kids running everywhere. I'm out in the middle and there's still a lot of eggs. And these kids, little tiny 5 to 7-year-olds, are coming running towards me, right? And I'm excited, and I'm yelling at them, grab the eggs, grab the eggs, grab the eggs, hurry, hurry, hurry. And on multiple occasions, 3 different occasions, these little kids looked up at me with a smile on their face and said, I've already got my 6 eggs. I'm good. And they went off the field. Surrounded by all these eggs still on the ground, they got their 6 and they knew they were done. And so to the parents that are teaching your kids to follow the rules at a young age, thank you. So, yeah, absolutely.
So, we got compared in our Easter egg hunt to some of the other city hunts that are going on, and that's fair. But I just want to kind of provide some perspective on that. So the other couple of cities that still do this, you know, city Easter egg hunts, they have about 200 to 300 kids that come to their Easter egg hunt. We have 1,200 kids that come to our Easter egg hunt, and I am bad with crowds, so I'm bad with estimating. So I asked Jelaine Robinson with Costco, who was there as a participant, how many people she thought were there, and she said between 5,000 and 7,000 people were there at that ballpark, and she sees crowds all the time, so I do trust her judgment. I was thinking maybe 3. She was like, no, it's definitely probably twice that. So that is the scope of people that we're dealing with, that we're trying to accommodate. We bought 15,000 Easter eggs and spread them around the field for 1,200 kids, which we thought was, and it grows every single year to try to accommodate everyone and make sure everyone feels like they're having a good time and their kids are not disappointed. We did put the limit on the eggs this year, so we are receptive to the feedback, and we do want to hear it. We do want to improve. It costs about $13,000 to put this free event on for the community, and 100% of that comes from the business owners. 100% of that does. And it is to put this on for the community. So thank you guys for recognizing that, and I appreciate the support more than you know. I just wanted to kind of help everyone keep that into perspective, that we are growing massively. So to continue to do this community hunt at that scale, we're going to have different problems than other cities are facing. So thank you.
Perfect. That's a good point. It's a great point. Remember, what we hope is that businesses don't think in their mind, you know what, I'll spend my $500, my $1,000 somewhere else, and then you don't have an Easter egg hunt. And so let's make sure we're cognizant of their advertising dollar, their dollar at their businesses. They can choose where to spend it, and boy, we want them to keep that for the kids. It's a great tradition, and you're doing a great job. Keep it up. Thank you. And thank you, businesses. Thanks, small businesses that make things go. I'll touch on one more thing that'll lead into 101 here, and that is we got a fantastic tour of the waste transfer station here in Spanish Fork last, what was that now? Was that Friday? When did we go?
Tuesday.
Oh, okay. Close. I knew it was a day of the week. Nick's going to touch more on this. I guess my high-level view of this is maybe all the residents don't know exactly where this is at. This is over by the Utah County Jail, behind it, just to the west a little bit. But as I was walking around and hearing Terry Ficklin give us the overview and talk about what this will look like, how this will operate, again, the pride and progress part of Spanish Fork just came through. I'm proud of this facility. I'm proud that it's in our city. I'm proud that we can do things like transferring waste and make it look tech savvy and have it be cool. There's a lot of things that go into this space. I saw Chief Hale's eyes light up when they were talking, permanent fire apparatus in there and things, and just all the all the cool stuff that is a necessary part of a community and an area. But again, we share this with other cities, other communities around us, and it's in Spanish Fork City. So it's going to be a cool place where I think there will be a lot of moms taking their kids to see trucks move big piles of stuff around, because you can see how that's going to work. Very, very shortly coming up is where we'll be able to take our stuff. So thank you to Terry Ficklin. Thank you to the organization. Thank you, by the way, to a group of people. Commissioner Gordon served on this committee before Councilman Marshall took over for him. And to land this facility in Spanish Fork from its current place in Springville was no easy feat. So Chris Thompson, Seth Perrins, Commissioner Gordon, who was a councilman then, and Mayor Leifson were integral parts of getting this where it is today. And it's a good thing for Spanish Fork. You probably wouldn't think that. It's a good thing to have the waste transfer facility in Spanish Fork. It is. I'm telling you it is. And so off to Nick for the 101 of this to say everything I said, but just in a better way.
It's an engineering marvel, huh? So amazing.
Yeah, I wasn't going to give any compliments to engineers because I know we have one on our council here, but
sewer treatment plants, transfer stations, like
it's geeky stuff.
Let's build an interchanger.
We will look at some floor plans here for you. No, thank you. I'm excited to talk about two upcoming events: the grand opening of the Dry Creek Transfer Station, and then our annual spring cleanup. So, this is the exterior, how it was looking just last week on that tour of the new transfer station. This is the public entrance, and we'll have a little more images there. But just for some context, that yellow dot now that's in the city is the new location from the orange just above it across the road in Springville. So that's where they're locating from and to, just north of the airport, just off of Main Street. So that's where we're talking when we're looking at the Dry Creek Transfer Station. One of the cool elements about this facility is the emphasis on education and the fact that you can take your kids there and go up and watch what's happening. So their administration side is on the Main Street side, the east side of the facility, with this education room that just looks out on the floor, and big windows that you can really see everything. And this is where all the residential, the commercial, all the recycle. This is the floor that will handle all of the waste with all the member cities. This just shows you the aerial. I think this was this morning. This one's good, Ty. It's the next one. But coming off of Main Street, this is the public entrance, and you can see the admin side of the building there, the lower level ceiling. And then there's 8 doors that gets you in and out. 4 for commercial, 4 for residential, and they can move those on Saturdays. They'll push the wall and let 6 doors be for residential, so they can get in and out quickly. It is an engineering marvel that their airflow circulates every, I think he said, minute and a half. That it's just new air that's brought in. It's fascinating and will be a great benefit for our residents and those in the other cities. So just quickly, if you know anything about the current facility, there's one entrance and one exit. That's for all traffic, residential, commercial, the city trucks, Republic trucks. This one will have separate entrances for residential, for you and I and our vehicles, entrance for commercial garbage, or Republic or city trash, and then another entrance for transfer station trash as they're taking their semi-truck loads over to the landfill or up to the recycling center. So a lot more efficient use of space, public scales to go in. You get in and out really quickly, and it's going to be really fun to have that open here in just a couple of weeks.
You don't have to back in anymore, right?
Right. Once you get in, they'll tell you, there'll be letters on the wall. They'll give you a letter. You'll go kind of circle in. They'll help you unload it, and you get out of there. So
I have to wait for the mayor to try to back in all day.
Nope.
You've been
they'll
piling
spread you
things
out.
up so you can go opening day, right?
Absolutely.
You've been
You should see my
saving all
yard.
winter.
Yeah, one of the things, they have a lot of cool safety features, and one of those is they have kind of a crow's nest that can see the whole floor, their floor supervisor that can help direct traffic, and they'll give you a letter over here and the next one a letter over there so that you're not kind of in each other's way, as well as their kind of fire suppression system for batteries are the big issue that cause fires, and they have thermal cameras that will sense fires before they start. So it's a really techy facility. But their grand opening and ribbon cutting will be on Thursday, April 25th. So all are invited to come to that. They're going to have festivities from noon to 5. They'll have a car show. They'll have falcons there for demonstration. They'll be doing some bird demonstrations, a hot dog lunch, and then the ribbon cutting ceremony will be at 2 o'clock. So, and then you can tour the facility until 5. So if you have a moment on the 25th, head down to the transfer station and check it out.
Don't bring your garbage yet.
Don't bring it
Come
yet.
look at it.
Wait until Monday. So that's the next thing is our spring cleanup this year starts Monday, April 29th. It's 2 weeks again through the 11th. So this year, with the transfer station now being in Spanish Fork City, and we want to get people down there, and also we want to make sure we're paying for our residents dumping their trash. We're going to try something new this year where the only drop-off will be at the transfer station. So that means no dumpsters in parks this year. You'll take everything to the transfer station. You'll get to experience that. We'll do 3 vouchers per residence, similar to the Green Waste program, which gets you in all season long. The spring cleanup will just be that 2-week period. And you'll log in with your utility account, print out those vouchers, and then take your ID with you. They'll match those up and let you go in and dump all the waste that you're going to clean up this spring. So just some quick perspective. So if you get on North Main Street, that's where you're going to find the transfer station. North Main Street to 3450 East. Hang a left. This is kind of what it looks like as of this afternoon when the sun came out. You'll pass kind of the first entrance on the right. That's for the admin office. You'll want to go it looks like you're going to go past the building, but you're going to get to about mid-building and make that right-hand turn and get into those residential lanes. That'll get you over the scales and then into the facility. You'll pass some construction on the left, the new Utah County Emergency Management Center. But this is the Dry Creek Transfer Station. They'll weigh you on the way in, on the way out. You'll give them your voucher on the way out. It's a $10 value, which is a typical load that you'll have. If you're taking a little bit more, then take all 3 vouchers, and they'll credit you up to that $30 of vouchers.
Nick, will you be really specific? They just get online, SpanishFork.org.
Yes. So this is what the vouchers look like. So starting the week before, starting April 22nd, residents will be able to go to SpanishFork.org/cleanup, click the button that says Print My Vouchers, type in their utility account number, and they'll be able to print 3 vouchers. They all have a unique identifier, so you can print out more, and then we'll just bill your utility account. So just stick with the 3. It's easier to do it that way. Don't make copies because they'll be duplicates and they won't work. But you'll see that your name will be on there, the address will be on there, and then the dates of when those are valid. And they're going to check to see that the names and the accounts match, and they'll let you go in and dump your waste, and then head out. They'll collect your vouchers, and off you go. So it should be very simple. If you have any issues, come into the utility office. Our staff will help you print those out, get into your account, and help you take care of that. If you're unable to go, but you give your vouchers to your neighbor, as long as they're taking your waste, and let those at the scales know that, hey, this is my neighbor. She's up there in age and can't drive, and I'm dropping these off for her, they'll let you do that. So we want this to be a positive thing for Spanish Fork residents to be able to take care of each other and also their trash and get it to where it needs to go, which is usually not in your garage anymore. So. And then all of our FAQs and where to get your vouchers, just online, SpanishFork.org/cleanup.
So just to
Any
be very
other
clear,
questions?
don't take your garbage to a park.
There will be no dumpsters at the park.
It didn't matter last year whether they were there or not.
That's true.
We just kept piling it there. So don't pile it there.
Correct.
It'll give you $30 to go deposit it in the right place.
You've got to put it in your car anyway, so just go check out the new
Drive
transfer
another 2
station.
miles.
Make sure you cover your load. They will charge you if your load is not covered. And we appreciate them doing that as a city. It keeps our city clean as well. So cover your load. Go drop it off at the transfer station. There will not be dumpsters at parks, and there will not be anybody cleaning up at parks. I'm sure Chief Johnson can sit out at the park and write you a ticket if you want to come and see him there. So, correct. No parks this year. We're going to try it out at the transfer station and see how it goes. Hopefully it goes really well, and this will kind of be our future model.
And those vouchers will not work at the current transfer station. Do not print those out and go to the current transfer station.
Right. That's one reason we're not going to let you print them out until the 22nd. But correct. Use them on the dates listed on the vouchers, the 29th through the 11th. Transfer station hours, they're closed on Sunday, but they open at 7 a.m. The other days, I think it's 7 to 6. You can look that up online as well, SpanishFork.org/cleanup. Yeah, so transfer station hours, drop them off. Keep your trash out of the parks. Doesn't belong there anyway. Any other questions?
Just a comment, Mayor, adding to what Nick has expressed. This isn't just a gimmick to get people to go to the new transfer station, although the timing works well. And I think they'll have a really enjoyable experience in this much better facility. As a program, we started this during COVID, as some might recall, giving residents the ability to clean up. And that first year, I can't remember exactly, but I think we spent around $50,000 or $45,000 in the work to put the dumpsters out and haul that away, and the tonnages were incredible. And each successive year thereafter, we had to do more, put out more dumpsters, and we could not keep up with the demand. And from a number of experiences, many of which firsthand accounts, some secondhand anecdotes, we came to know pretty clearly that this was being used by many other cities too. And the program costs went from in the 40,000s to in the 75,000s. And as a community, we're not trying to clean up all of South Utah County in our town, especially when, as Councilman Marshall expressed, people were leaving their stuff in our parks that added to the labor to clean it up. So as Nick kind of quipped, you're putting it in your car, we're giving you a pass, just drive it to the dump. And it is slightly more time. It will take a little bit more time. But I think people will be amazed at how quickly they're going to move through the new transfer station, and our parks are going to stay cleaner, and things are going to look better. And we're not going to be paying for all of our neighbors to do all of our cleanup on our bill, too. So this is a good thing.
And just want to make sure we give some credit and thanks to the transfer station and their staff working with Terry Ficklin, and they want to be a part of this as well. And the fact that they're going to help us by matching up the IDs and the vouchers and keep it so it's Spanish Fork residents using the service, we are very grateful for them and being partners in this. And they're looking forward to starting off their new facility with something like this. So to really test it out and see how it all works.
I think, go ahead.
This is very cool.
Well, very cool, and I think adding to it, what you'll notice as a resident, if you've been to the old place and you're going to the new place completely self-contained. I was surprised. I mean, I was surprised by a lot of the tour that Terry gave, and Pete and Travis have done a great job putting that up on YouTube channel, so you can find that walkthrough. Very informational. I'd suggest watching it, but. One of the biggest surprises, the old place, the employees didn't even have, bathroom facilities. Really, they were in
they're porta potties.
Porta potties outside while you're, checking people in and everything else. I mean, we were way past time for a facility that think about it, where it's at. Will be next to some other industrial commercial warehouse spaces that might be the beginning of life for some high-tech technology equipment, and next door would be the end of life for that same equipment, and you probably won't notice, you won't know which building is which, to be honest with you. The way those doors go up and down, and all your garbage will be self-contained and inside a facility, and then travel outside that facility without the way it currently is now of piles being outdoors that you see when you go to the current transfer station. So just amazing stuff.
Absolutely. So April 22nd, you can print off your vouchers. You can't use them until April 29th when the spring cleanup starts. If you want to come to the grand opening of the transfer station and ribbon cutting, that's on April 25th.
Very good.
Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Nick. Appreciate it.
Mayor, I had one more thing on my list that I forgot to talk about.
Yes, sir.
One thing that is available to all residents right now is Nick and SFCN, some of our engineers, have worked on the next iteration of the roadshow. Make sure if you're seeing some cones, Highway 6, some different places in town, if you're wanting to know what's going on from a traffic standpoint from roads that are happening, that is a great place to receive information straight from their mouths about what's actually happening. I think that there's been a lot of questions coming our way, just different things that are happening. I just want to give a plug for that roadshow. For those engineers out there, they'd really love it because it's geeking out.
Yeah.
So
just say roads. Yeah.
And now maybe this is another segment, but while you're on that topic, it's I know it's a frustrating time for some citizens of, well, why isn't that done already? Why do we have to be under construction for places that, why weren't those roads built knowing what was coming? We could probably take a whole segment on why that's the case, but it comes down to money, right, Shane? I mean, educate us a little bit on why those roads aren't built before they're
I think the best analogy is, so when you went to buy your home, you needed X number of square footage, right? And in a lot of cases, you didn't finish your basement because you didn't need it at the time. You had a couple kids, maybe your in-laws move in with you, whatever the case may be. Now you need a basement, and now you pay for it because you need that space. You couldn't afford it when you initially built it. You knew that it would be cheaper and less expensive if you built it when you built your home, but you couldn't afford it because you didn't need it. Same thing with roads. You build something for 20 years in the future. 20 years comes by. Now you need to do something different because things change. If you keep pushing that limit and say, let's build something that'll never get full, you only work on one road and all the rest of them fell. So I get where the frustration is, and it makes a ton of sense to get ahead of it, but there's only so much you can spend on transportation, only so much you can spend on a road, and we have a lot of needs in the state and a lot of needs in the city, and so you need to be very judicial with your spend and focus on those places that needs it. So it is frustrating. I get it, but wait till the end of the summer. It'll be a good place to go. There's so much transportation investment being made in our community over the next 5 to 10 years that we recognize, and when we all ran for this office, the top two was either growth or transportation, right? Traffic, and it takes some time to get to that point where you're up on the list and you can get the money to make the investment, but yeah, it's going to be well worth it. We're going to be able to turn left, right? When you get off the freeway, instead of backed all the way to the freeway, you'll be able to turn left. Or don't even get off that exit. Get off the new one and come in the back way. One beautiful thing about our city, it's a grid network. So don't go on Main. Go just off Main. Go on 3rd and 3rd, and you'll get to there in maybe 1 minute less. My brother and I typically have this argument all the time about how congested this place is, and I don't disagree. When we grew up here, I could ride my bike down Main Street. But when I grew up here, it took 5 minutes to go down Main Street. Today it takes 7. It's not much. It doesn't take that much more time. It's 30 miles an hour. It takes time. So be patient. I think, secondly, too, just when you're driving on 6, there's going to be a lot of people working at night. Be be kind to those folks. They don't want to be out there working at night in all kinds of weather. They're doing it to protect you and to solve a problem. So be nice. Just don't be that road rage person at 1 a.m. that wants to fly through there at 100 miles an hour. Those people, they're taking their lives in their own hands and doing something for us. So be nice to them.
They're wearing gloves that actually get dirt on them.
They may actually have dirt on their hands. I don't know. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that good reminder. Okay, appreciate those comments as well, Councilman Cardon. That takes us to item number 9 on the agenda, consent items. But before we approve all the consent items, Mr. Jake Tyre is here for items C and D, I believe, with Rocky Mountain Power. Do you want to come up and speak to those before we entertain a motion to approve the consent items?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I was super excited to be here tonight. When Chris told me to show up, I looked at the agenda and saw it was Employee of the Quarter, so I guess the joke's on me.
Yeah, sorry about that, Jake.
Just kidding. We got a lot of great employees at Spanish Fork. But anyways, I am really excited to be here tonight for these next 2 items, or 2 of the items on the consent. This is a joint use agreement with Rocky Mountain Power and then a construction agreement with Rocky Mountain Power. Let me just kind of set the table with this. As you guys know, we're building a new 138 transmission line out to the north area of town, north and west area of town. And part of that is we need to get around the airport for future redundancy, master planning, loads, everything. And Rocky Mountain Power already has an existing transmission line along 4 South in Springville, just north of the transfer station that Nick just showed you. And we looked at it and said, we got to go that same route. And so instead of going in, buying another 60-foot of easement, having 2 transmission lines on the frontage out there, we decided to go and approach Rocky Mountain about doing a joint use. And so we did that on February 7th of 2022. So it's been a long process. We're excited to be here. So the first one, and I'll just point out, Michael Lang is here representing Rocky Mountain Power also. So he'd be more than happy to answer any questions you have. So first off, the joint use. It's pretty straightforward. It's like a pole attachment agreement, essentially, right? It kind of outlines, it's pretty typical in our world as far as it outlines the joint use of the power poles, the ownership, the attachments, notifications back and forth of if things happen or accidents. Along with the joint use, there's some exhibits that show you how the configuration of the pole and ownership goes. And so at the end of the day, Rocky Mountain Power will still own the easement and the pole itself. We'll own our facilities, they'll own their facilities. The big reason for that is we entertained looking at Spanish Fork owning the line, but at the end of the day, Rocky Mountain came back and said, just for federal regulations, it'd be best if they own the line, and we just entered into a joint use. So do you guys have any questions for me on the joint use agreement, or Mike? So that basically outlines the joint use agreement.
Makes sense. Makes sense to use what's already there and find a way to work together rather than duplicate the process.
And then I'll jump into the construction agreement if anybody has any questions. So this is, I guess, pretty rare from Rocky Mountain's standpoint. They've agreed to allow us as Spanish Fork to build this line. Even though they're going to own it, they're going to allow us to build it. That's an advantage for Spanish Fork because we have some time frames we think we can speed up. We're hoping to maybe save some costs on that also. And this construction agreement outlines it all, right? So it tells about the purpose of this line, tells about the ownership. It outlines that Spanish Fork will build it. And the good thing about this, it doesn't exclude Rocky Mountain at all. They're going to be a joint partner in this. They're going to have be a part of all phases of construction. They've got to give their stamp of approval, and And so it kind of gives some cost estimates and timing and a few things like that. And I already mentioned the pros about this. I am so excited to be to this point. I mean, it's been a lot of work. And it's been a lot of work from Rocky Mountain side. In fact, I started with Mike back in 2022 in a kickoff meeting about this. And then we got a different project manager, and we worked with her, Debbie Hodrick, and she was awesome. And their engineers, Nicole, they've been awesome and really good to work with. And we really appreciate that. And even from the Spanish Fork side, this has been a tremendous amount of work. I've relied heavily on Vaughn and his councils and red lines. And honestly, it's been a team effort. Engineering and Travis Warren, those guys really came through with the easement requests and everything else. So this is big for Spanish Fork. It's not so big probably for Rocky Mountain Power, but this is a big deal for us. And we hope this is a good relationship moving forward, because this isn't probably the last time that we're going to have to deal with Rocky Mountain Power in some fashion, and we're both in the power business, so we're looking forward to many years of a good relationship.
Thank you, Jake.
Any questions for me or Mike? Or
I think we need to get Michael up just for a moment.
Well, of course, he came to our meeting. Yes.
Councilman Tooke, I appreciate your comments. I'm pretty sure when you were in that meeting with those students that number 7 on their list was they wanted to see a joint use line with Rocky Mountain Power in Spanish Fork. Who doesn't get excited about that? No, we're really we're grateful for the partnership, for the work with the city, and I've worked with a lot of several of you in here for several years now, and really appreciate the work that you do for your community, and it's stand out in terms of Utah County. I live in American Fork, and we're maybe a little better, but you guys are close. It's close, and it's good to have that competition.
I was about ready to say some really nice things about you.
I'll throw them out right now.
Back.
All right. No, just glad to be here and really appreciate, like Tyler said, we have another request for other power lines that we're trying to find our way through Spanish Fork and their surrounding communities, and so it's probably not the last time that we might need to come up with a joint use type of a scenario, maybe for a 345 kV line down the road or something. So definitely want to maintain a good relationship, and grateful for you.
When I saw Michael walk in the room, I thought, genuinely, I hope we get to work with him again. He used to be specifically in this region. I don't know what your exact role now is, but I'm assuming it's higher up in... Are you back?
I'll be back here now working in this role, so I appreciate it.
Hallelujah. He's so fantastic to work with, other than his understanding or belief about which fork is better.
Right, yeah.
We'll keep working on that, but Michael is so easy and good to work with. He doesn't sell the farm or anything, but just communicating with us as a partner. When we first reached out to Rocky Mountain Power a number of years ago to work on the power corridor, and then a few other things in our community with Rocky Mountain Power, man, he was such a bridge builder. And when he left that position, we were sad. And really grateful to have you back in any way that we can work with Michael, because he's such a good one to work with. So I was really happy to see you in the room today. So
thank you. Appreciate your time. Thanks.
Thank you for coming, Michael.
One other thing I wanted to mention, Mayor, is the document that's online. I had to make a small change because Debbie left and now it's Michael. So I've updated the construction agreement. I forwarded it to Tara and Shelley, so you'll have the right agreement just with that one small change.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you, Jake. Thank you, Michael. Michael, you want to give Kathleen Levitt your information? We have a Battle of the Forks coming up. Pickleball stuff, and
I wouldn't do it, Michael. You're going to lose. I mean, it's just how it is. That's just how it is, man.
Thank you. Okay, perfect. It sounds like those changes are in those agreements with Michael's name updated, and so I would entertain a motion to approve the consent items A through E.
I move to approve the consent items.
Motion made by Councilman Cardon.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Tooke. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Okay, the consent items are approved. It takes us to item number 10 on the agenda. 10A is personnel policy updates. Mr. Tyler Jacobson.
All right, you can't have much more fun than talking about retirement contributions, higher education, military leave. What else do we have on here? Drones, safety belts, remote work, and driver's licenses. We tried to summarize in the agenda what the changes were. I can go through those if you'd like and explain a little bit as to the why behind it. Are there any specifics, though, before I do that you'd like to know more about or feel like it would be good for those that are viewing at home to understand a little bit more about? None in particular. Let me just go over retirement contributions really quickly then. So Utah Retirement Systems, each year they update their rates, and for fiscal year 25 that will start July 1st, they've made some changes which will be beneficiary to the city as far as the bottom line goes. They've reduced some of their rates, and that'll be helpful. As a result, though, they also have going into effect a change that will affect our Tier 2 public employees. And that is that there is the way that the URS sets their rates. They have an employee portion and they have an employer portion. The employee portion is the portion that they typically have the employee pay. The employer portion would be what Spanish Fork City pays in behalf of the employee. In the past, we've had the option to pay for the employee portion if there is a requirement, meaning that, for example, if Jordan Hills were a Tier 2 employee, and there was a rate that the URS set that said we have to pay, or Jordan has to pay a certain percentage, we could pick that up on his behalf. That is not the case with Tier 2 public employees. That we have opted to do that for our public safety employees and our fire and EMS employees. We don't have that option when it comes to Tier 2 public employees. And so the state law requires that they require that the employee now pay a percentage which would be 0.7%. So to just kind of put that in perspective, if an employee made $75,000 a year, they would now be paying about $525 towards their retirement. So as a personnel committee, we visited about this, and the feeling was that to help offset this contribution that the employees would have to make, the city could make a contribution to an employee's 401k retirement that matches that 0.7%. So they're not getting the money up front, but they are getting the money in the long run. And so does that make sense? So in a sense, that example I gave earlier of the $525, the city would be putting $525 into a 401k. The employee would be paying $525 to URS, but the amount they would be paying in would be offset really to zero. Does that make sense, Shane? I don't know if I explained that very well, but
I'm not sure the math worked, but yeah, I understand.
Essentially, it's supposed to be the city contributes 0.7%, employee contributes 0.7%. That's probably the biggest change that is happening with these updates to the personnel policy manual. There is also a section on remote work. We, in the past, haven't had a policy on that. With the city having so many different facets, so many different departments and divisions, it is essential that we have in-person work, and we feel like it really fosters a culture of collaboration and unity. So the general rule is that we will have in-person work. There may be situations where an employee for a short period of time needs to work from home, work remotely from somewhere, and so this policy would establish the route that that could be approved through. But that should be infrequent and not a consistent practice. And those are really the highlights of the main changes. Seth, anything you feel like we should delve into more, or any other council? Okay.
Questions for Tyler on the personnel policy updates?
No.
Okay. Were great. I mean, the employee has to now pay their little bit of portion, $527.
the city is going to put $527 into 401k for them. But does the employee still can't pay for bread on that $527 that the city has given them in their 401k? So they're going to, in a year, have $527 less. However, they'll have, when they retire, they'll have more in their 401k than they had before. So I don't know that it's a wash, but I get the logic around it. I don't know there's much more we can do about it.
Yeah.
But it's a long-term play for the employee, not a short-term pay the bills.
And that's a great example, especially with the bread, because sometimes you use, I think you always use yeast in bread, right? Yeast helps it to rise, so hopefully the 401k will rise and get bigger than it would have been before.
Analogy, Tyler.
Thanks.
What is the change of the URS now requiring that? Do we have any insight of just them saying, hey, Tier 2 employees, now you got to put into it?
Yeah, so as far as Tier 2 goes, what are the rates? Is that what you're wondering about?
No.
Or what?
I mean, the change is now, before they were not having to put in their own 0.7%.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. So before, the amount that the employee was required to put in was 0.
Right.
So this law, I didn't explain that very well. This law has been on the books for a while, that the URS would require an employee to actually pay out of their own pocket if there was ever a portion or a percentage allocated to that employee portion, and that they finally said, hey, it's time for employees to pay a small portion.
Yeah, the city's contribution for a public employee is capped by state law at 10%. And if the required rate to keep the system whole goes above 10, then the employee, if they're in the hybrid plan, then the employee makes up whatever that difference is. So this is the first year that...
This is an actuary figure to make the URS solvent.
Yep. And this is the first year in, I'm going to say 2010 is when it started. It might have been 11. So the first year in 13 or 14 years where that actuarial number has gone above 10%. It's just barely above it at 0.7. But we are not allowed by state law to make that number up for public employees. The laws are a little bit different for different programs, but for this public safety or public employee one, it is what it is.
Okay. Any other questions for Tyler? Okay. Thanks. Thank you, Tyler. I would entertain a motion for item A on the personnel policy updates.
I move to approve the personnel policy updates.
Motion made by Councilman Oyler.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Marshall. A roll call vote here. Councilman Tooke.
Yes.
Councilman Cardon.
Yes.
Councilman Oyler.
Yes.
Councilwoman Beck.
Yes.
And Councilman Marshall.
Yes.
Item A is approved. Takes us to item B. Ordinance amending Section 14.410 of the Spanish Fork Municipal Code, adopting Appendix L of the International Fire Code. Mr. Chief Eddie Hales.
Thanks, Mayor, Council. Our desire tonight is to present an amendment to our current fire code and adopt the Appendix L of the fire code into city ordinance. This is a requirement to make bigger buildings, 5 stories and above, and 250,000 square foot and larger, to require a firefighter air replenishing system within those buildings when they are built. These systems are similar to a fire riser system that you may see in a stairwell, in a multiple story building, or throughout Costco, a big box store, which I call horizontal high rises. And these are for us to connect into and fight fire deep into a building that's very large. That's what those standpipe systems are utilized for. This now is a standpipe system for us to be able to allow our firefighters in these bigger buildings to hook their air bottles into, fill those air bottles up to continue a firefight, or to be able to get them outside of the building. We have a 50% rule in the fire service, so if it takes you 50% of your bottle to get into a building, you save that 50% back to get back out of the building. And so if you think about walking into the middle of a Costco today and you're wearing a bottle that's supposed to last you 45 minutes and you're dragging a hose and carrying 45 pounds of weight to make it to the middle to the clothing section to fight a fire, and now you're at 50%, the fire's still growing, you barely got in there. How do you continue to make progression or get yourself back out? And these firefighter air replenishing systems are in those buildings near those standpipe systems for our firefighters to be able to hook into, fill their bottles up, and continue in the firefight or a fire rescue operation. We feel this is a very proactive approach, very similar to other areas across the country. And also in our state, there's 2 other cities that are currently have this appendix adopted, and 2 that are currently in the process of adopting it along with ourselves. I've brought Fire Marshal Turner to kind of give you a presentation on Appendix L. This is he's been out to he went to Meridian, Idaho to attend a Firefighter Air Coalition about this appendix and what it can provide our firefighters for their safety and well-being when making firefights in these large buildings that are coming into our community. If you'd like to have that presentation, we can do that. If you have more questions, Fire Marshal Turner's here to answer those. He's more of an expert than I am, so I would entertain any of those questions, or would you like us to present with this presentation that he has built?
Any questions before we hear from the Fire Marshal?
Watch the presentation, then see what questions come up.
Okay.
That's good.
Fire Marshal Turner.
Seth, before he starts, which offends you most, the American Fork comment or the lanyard around Chief Hales?
Well, it's probably equal, but I look at that lanyard more often, and candidly, I've stopped seeing it. Yeah. Gratefully, I like the guy whose neck it hangs from, and so I just don't see the lanyard.
Perfect.
The good thing is you got 2 former other forks now here, so you see where's the better fork right there. So, Mayor, Council.
That's all Michael needs to hear. I mean, mic drop, right? Boom, done.
I'm gonna say if he wants a better lot for his power equipment, come here. Leave American Fork. It's too small, so get you a bigger spot. Okay, but, Mayor and Council, thank you for your time and appreciate your looking into this appendix. I'm going to get emotional. I apologize. The number 1 job as a fire marshal is for firefighter and the public safety. And I feel that this appendix adoption is going to do large things for people in the future, not only firefighters, but also employees. In the northwest part of town, we have multiple buildings that are going to be built that are over 250,000 square feet, up to over 1 million square feet. So having these systems is something that we're going to be proactive. Like our motto, pride and progress. We are going to be progressive and being able to help people. With the large building coming in, there's going to be numerous employees. So if we do have an incident in there, they're not going to be able to make it out quickly. They might get lost. Our guys going in, having this system, they'll be able to spend more time in there helping people get out. So it's not just a firefighter system. It's a employee, citizen, and property loss prevention system. And with the slideshow, there's a couple things if you want to switch the right. Big middle button, okay. So here's a video that just kind of gives a brief overview. Mike Gagliano, I talked to him this afternoon and have been talking to him for months. He's one of the main people for the Firefighter Air Coalition. And the conference that he put on in Meridian in February was an excellent conference, and I learned a lot from him. So please listen.
We're here for a wonderful event in collaboration with the Nashville Fire Department as a representative of the Firefighter Air Coalition, a nonprofit advocacy group that looks at all things firefighter air, from the bottles you wear on your back, to the way you use your air inside of the fire, to all the repercussions that can come from being exposed to smoke and the toxins and carcinogens that are in the smoke. This collaboration is a wonderful day for us. The city of Nashville has adopted a FARS code. FARS, or Firefighter Air Replenishment Systems, it's basically an air standpipe. So much like a water standpipe where water is put into the ground, goes through fixed piping, and
delivered to the top floors. FARS is an air standpipe. And Nashville firefighters at the biggest fire of their life are going to be able to get air at the upper floors across long warehouses, and they're going to be able to deliver incredible service to the citizens who are trapped, who need help, and to put those fires out.
Okay. Here's a diagram of what Spanish Fork is going to have the most use out of the fire system. The large warehouses. It's kind of hard to see kind of the middle, but if you look towards the center of the building, there's red rectangular boxes scattered throughout the inside. Those are the air replenishing stations. So our guys would be able to go in that far into the building, go into the middle part of the building, and be able to use our thermal imaging camera and see where that box is located. So they can see through the smoke, get there, be able to pull the hose out, plug it into their air bottle, their air pack, and under 2 minutes, fill that back up. That is amazing because like Chief Hill said, it's a 50-50 rule. If we're going in to a building and we're at 50% or more and we don't make it in there before that 50%, that fire is going to keep growing. If we're only to spray water for a minute or two, we're not going to put much of a dent in the fire. But if we're able to top off our bottles, spend 15 minutes spraying before we refill and get out, then that's going to save property. If you get on YouTube and search large warehouse fires, plenty of them around. Most of them are what we call a surround and drown, where basically we just set up ladder trucks and spray lots of water until it burns itself out and all the walls fall down and we've lost all that property. Where if we can get in there, put the fire out when it's small and help the fire sprinklers keep it to a minimum, then we're not replacing the whole building. We're saving property, saving lives. And so here's just a kind of a diagram. And I have a smaller one if you need to look at it. So there's 3 different types of these systems. One is a exterior system, where basically it's just like a fire department connection where we connect our hose on the outside and then we just plug a hose and then it supports everything that's inside. And that's great. If you've got, like New York, 100 guys show up, the light and air trailer shows up the same time that they do, then that would be perfect. For us, where we have a delay, we're not able to really have this kind of a system right now. Hopefully in the future, we can have that option. But for now, we need to kind of have like a cascade or a combination system. Where a cascade system is we have tall oxygen bottles that are inside the structure all the time next to the fire riser room. And they have enough air to be able to replenish the bottles inside until our light and air trailer shows up, which we have on order, and hopefully it'll be here within the year, so we'll be able to refill and supply that when we get there. But for the first 20 minutes, our guys are able to go in, use those interior bottles to refill, and be able to continue fighting. Where the combination is we have a connection outside and the bottles inside. We can pull our trailer up and fill them up after the first 20 minutes when our trailer can get there. So that's kind of what we're kind of having to lean towards just because of our manpower issue and our responses that we have at this time in the city. And then why adopt? I wish I could get my emotions in check, but like I said earlier, firefighter safety, civilian safety, property loss reduction. Our buildings are getting bigger. They're not getting smaller. As you all know, you drive around town, we don't have small buildings. We don't even have small houses. Everything is large. But this is only a requirement for commercial buildings. And then following our city motto, pride and progress, being progressive in adopting this. And then over 20 jurisdictions and states have adopted this code and do have it in place. and they've had 3 large fires where I've actually had to use these systems in the buildings like in Texas and some of the other places in the country. So it has helped. And then again, it's only going to affect warehouses or tall buildings that are over 5 stories, or the warehouse is over 250,000 square feet. And that's the 250,000 square foot open space. So if we have a building that's 250,000 square feet, but they divide it up with 2-hour firewalls, then it's not going to affect them. But if they take out the firewalls and get it to that larger space, then it would be required to get put in. And the cost, I couldn't get a definite cost because the companies go off of floor plans and what's needed for the floor plans. So each building's different, each system requirement's going to be different. So there wasn't any way for me to get a flat cost of this is what's going to cost per building. Each one's going to be different, so they couldn't give me a definite number.
Did they give you a range of it, like magnitude?
A number that I was given at the conference was like 1/100th of the cost of the building was kind of what they threw out there, but I wasn't able to get an exact number on that. But it's kind of like a fire sprinkler or a fire alarm system. It doesn't cost so much that they don't put them in. So
a cost borne by the building owner. It's not borne by the city.
Yeah, the city does not have any cost in this at all. It's going to be totally the property developer that's going to be paying for this, just like the fire sprinklers and the fire alarm systems. And right now, the cities in Utah that have adopted this, Layton, Ogden, Wasatch County, I found out today, is going through the same process right now to get it adopted. And talking with Salt Lake City, they are starting to look at this adopted for their city and all their high-rise structures that they have there. So it's slowly starting to go through the city and the state. Any questions?
It seems all positive. What's the downside? What's the negative? What's the pushback? Cost to the developer?
Probably just the cost would be the only thing.
And why only 4 cities?
Because
big warehouses are not unique to Spanish.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things that where the fire marshals were too busy, so they just adopt the codes that we've got, and then they kind of leave it how it is. Some of them don't know that they haven't adopted it, so that's one reason why. And then it's just me being progressive, seeing what's coming in to town, and working on it. It has taken a lot of man-hours to do this, and so it's something that means a lot to me.
So, Fire Marshal Turner, I've got a couple of questions for you. So, in comparison, Costco building would be about how many square feet?
Costco, I think you're probably around that 250, maybe a little bit less than that.
No.
It might be 200,000.
No, it's less than that. It'll be somewhere in the 130, I think.
Okay.
For Costco. Yeah, Costco and Walmart both are probably around the 100.
So the 250 number, is that just is that a number you came up with? Is that kind of
national
number that they
coming
look at?
around?
Okay. So that's
one building that. Sorry to interrupt, but one building that would be the ideal size for the 250,000 is one of the warehouses that's directly across from the jail right now, up on North Main Street. Those two that actually are closer to Main, off of 170 East.
So
those two are 250,000 square foot for each of those.
So this is a large building.
So it's large.
I think when we were in the transfer station, they said it's 100 and something square feet, and that felt huge, right?
Huge.
Yeah.
So 250,000 square feet.
Yeah, this is way larger than the transfer station.
That's big. So another question: state code versus local code. These appendices, it looks like, are adopted at the local level. What's being done in the state of Utah as far as lobbying or trying to get this actually adopted at the state level, rather than having each city have to do what we're doing here?
Okay, that's a good question, and I've got the answer from the state fire marshal. The The state fire marshal will not adopt any appendix in the fire code due to the fact that there are cities in the state that they don't apply to.
Meaning there's cities in the state that won't build a 250,000 square foot building?
Well, yeah, and then just any appendix at all, they don't feel that they need to adopt those on a state level because it would hurt smaller cities like Levan, Nephi, some of these that are still small.
Meaning
requiring them to hold
a
those
developer.
appendix.
So a developer may not. So a developer may choose to go to a smaller city that doesn't have this then, as compared to a Spanish Fork that is requiring them to foot a little extra cash to build a building, correct?
Yeah, potentially.
So that's what the state marshal's saying.
Yeah, and so by us adopting this, along with the other appendices that we have, and if you'll notice that we haven't adopted everything. There's Appendix A through J or M, and we haven't adopted all those in the city because I have felt that they weren't needed. The only reason why I'm looking at Appendix L now is because of all the large warehouses that are coming into the area. Feel that now that it doesn't need to be accepted. Otherwise, I would have asked it to be adopted when we adopted the other ones 2 years ago. But to my lack of knowledge then, I thought it was just for high-rises. I didn't know that it was for warehouses because they're basically a high-rise laid on the ground.
So is there a concern that if we adopt it, that it could cripple us as far as attracting potential businesses or warehouses that would come to Spanish Fork?
I don't think so because I had a discussion with a developer that is looking at building in town, and they had no qualms adopting and putting the system in.
I probably would add to that. Cripple is probably too strong of a word. I think it will cause some to say, I don't know, right? This is a cost that they will bear as a business, but it is a cost that will be attributed to local regulation, right? So if I'm building here, I don't have to do it. If I'm building there, I do.
So in our scenario, if there's property in Springville, very close to property in Spanish Fork, and Springville doesn't require it, then they may choose Springville over Spanish, but that's the cost of, to me it makes sense. I think it's a great idea. A couple other questions I have. The system itself, does it need to be replenished or checked over time? How do they manage to make sure that when you go in as a firefighter, it's going to work?
It's checked annually, just like the fire alarm and fire sprinkler system is now. So the company would just come in, they just look at it, check the air, test it, make sure that it's still good, hasn't had contaminants, and then that's all that they do.
And so maybe adding to that, Jason, there isn't any system there that's like a tank that's holding the air. Really, it's just the pipes. And when they get there, you're pushing the air in through the pipes, right? It's not
from outside?
Depending on the type of system. The one that I showed was the Cascade system. They actually do have air bottles, like 4 or 6 air bottles that are there. So the inspector would just come, put his test bottle on it, open it up, test the air, and make sure that it's still good. It's not like they got from what I understand now, it's not like a sprinkler system where every 5 years they got to tear pipes apart and look in and replace things. This should be once it's in, they test the air and then make sure it works annually like any other fire system, and that would be it.
While we're on this question, is the same, since there's only a few municipalities that have this ordinance, is there readily companies to be able to test it? So like a fire protection company, are they already equipped to do this testing, or is there going to have to be, are we going to have to call out other places, other states to get them in?
Since it's a newer system, there aren't a ton in the state right now, but due to the demand, Layton's got one system that's being installed right now, and there's others that are going in that they're doing it. The air testing, they're already companies in the state that do that because they go around and test each fire department's air fill station, so they are already in.
That was my question. Thanks.
So one more question, just because I'm curious. So you mentioned that as you go in, it takes about 2 minutes to replenish a tank? As a firefighter, are you just holding your breath for 2 minutes while describe that process to me?
Yeah, so we're on air, breathing out of our air tanks with our masks on. With this system, it is a ton better than the old way. The old way is that we would have to go off of air, have somebody turn our bottle off, take the connection off of our back, and pull our bottle out, and then put a new bottle in and connect it all up. This system, there's a hose in the cabinet that we take, we plug it right into the bottle.
So you're still breathing.
Goes. We're
your
still on air.
You're just replenishing it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if there is a firefighter that happens to get disoriented inside due to the fact that you can see these cabinets with our thermal imager, which we all have on our air packs, we can look, see where our system's at. He's lost. He doesn't know where he's at. He can go to that fill station, look at a number that's on it, and say, I'm lost. I'm at this fill station. Help. Our guys will have a map of that building, know exactly where that fill station is, and we can go in and get him and bring him out. And he can connect in and have all the air that he needs. He doesn't have to be like the 11 firefighters in the last 24 years that have died because they ran out of air. So that's the one thing that I want to do, is keep it so our guys don't add to that 11.
You asked, thank you, Jason, for those thoughts. You asked Kevin for some reference. The Young Living building that is now, it's had two builds, the original build and what added on. It's about 250,000 square feet. That original location is, as Jason mentioned, the two new structures across Main Street from the jail. Those are both in the 325 to 350,000 square feet. Each of those will be demised, or possibly demised into some different sections. Maybe speak to how does that affect if there's a 300,000 square foot building and Seth takes, let's say, 100,000, and there's a firewall between the two. Shane takes the middle section, and there's a firewall between he and Stacy. She takes the last section. So we each have 100,000 square feet with a fire-rated wall in between. How does this function for a building that's maybe demised that way, even though the size of the building is 300,000?
Yeah, as long as it's below the 250,000 square foot threshold, then it wouldn't fall into that. It would just be the effect of, like now, Young Living has that north building that's new off of 3250 North and 170 East. They have that whole building. So that would require a system if it was built today. It's not something that I'm going to require we go back and retrofit. So if you're built, you're there. If just from when that's approved to the future is when it would be effective. So like the JCPenney Finger Hut building at the mouth of the canyon, that would definitely require one if it was built today. But as of now, it's not.
That's about $1 million, right?
Yeah, that's about $1 million there. And the other one's coming in just off of 3800 North or 4000 South, SR 77. They're all planning to be very large structures. So that's what got me wanting to get this approved so that we could have that future plan.
As a commercial business owner, if I'm building these buildings, to me it would make sense to provide a way that the firefighters, if there ever were a fire in my building, that they're going to be able to fight that fire as quickly and efficiently as possible. So if it means paying a few thousand or whatever it is, it's just an additional fire insurance policy in my mind.
Yeah, and that's what we're looking at as, is just another fire protection system. And there is some rumors going around in the fire marshal that this system is going to possibly be moved up from the appendix to a required system in the future. We all know government doesn't move quickly, but I just look at it as if I can save one life by having this system in a building now, whether it's a firefighter or a civilian, it doesn't matter the cost to me. And if it was your loved ones, you probably would feel the same way. If we can save them, you'd much rather have them there in the future.
I have just one last quick question. Thanks. This has been really helpful information. And maybe I missed this in the documentation. I was looking for it, but I was just curious. The firefighter air replenishment systems, what size are they? I was kind of curious, like thinking walking through a big warehouse. Are they huge? Are they small? What do they look like when day to day for those?
About the size of this podium is about the size of the fill stations that will be out in the warehouse portion. The air tanks and the control boxes are, you probably have the air tanks you can fit in about the same spot, maybe a little bigger, and then the control boxes are on the walls. They're about the size of a fire alarm panel, so just small. So it's minimal. It fits into the same room as the fire riser and alarm panel room.
Are there any safety concerns if those are in a building that's on fire with it being compressed air? Are there any safety concerns with explosion or anything like that?
Because the tanks are where the fire sprinkler riser room is, where the main water line comes in, and it's in a separate built room. And then the lines either go underground, or if you have to, they can be fire protected and go up in the roofs, but they're a stainless steel line. If they do rupture, it's not going to throw any more air than what's already in the building. So it's not like it's going to be a movie where it ruptures and you got a big fireball. It's not going to affect anything.
I think people think that air is just 100% oxygen like we give medical patients. That's not the case. It's actually compressed air of what we're breathing today that you would see in a dive tank. So it's not oxygen. It wouldn't oxygen that higher.
Thank you, Marshal Turner. I appreciate the point of if your building's up, it's up, and this is new going forward. Should we pass the appendix here into our policy? But I think it's wise that businesses will have the option as you're looking at their plans and what they're having come in that they could. Hey, do you want to partition? Do you want to partition parts of your building with 2-hour firewalls? Or do you want this system in there? And there's kind of your options to make sure not only, again, your people are safe, they're going there to fight that fire, but again, these places are not storing inexpensive things in these warehouses. There's warehouses being built for $200 million, and then there's well in excess of $200 million in assets inside these buildings. And so you're talking about $500 million that when you talk about thousands of dollars of adding this equipment, I think, yes, it's going to be something that they should appreciate, we appreciate, and your firefighters should appreciate.
Yeah, well, thank you. Any other questions?
Any questions for Marshal Turner?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, if there's no other questions, comments about item B, I'd entertain a motion for this amendment to section 14.410.
I move to approve the ordinance amending section 14.04.10 of the Spanish Fork Municipal Code, adopting Appendix L of the International Fire Code.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Tooke, seconded by Council. Okay, tie goes to Councilwoman Beck. As second, roll call vote here, starting with Councilman Oyler.
Yes.
Councilman Cardon.
Yes.
Councilman Tooke.
Yes.
Councilman Marshall.
Yes.
And Councilwoman Beck.
Yes.
Item B is approved. Thank you. Appreciate it, Chief. Thank you, Marshall. Takes us to item C, assignment of real estate purchase contracts. Mr. Vaughn Piquel.
Thanks, Mayor.
It's been so long, Vaughn.
Man, it's good to see you. I was away
last time when at the water conference.
And I'm usually
as well.
not here, so
Yeah, I was going to say, it's been long for him. It hasn't been long for us.
Right. I have a map of some roads that need to get built to help us build out our VERC industrial park. I'll show them in a. So as we've looked at the roads that we need to build in the VERC industrial park, there's a key one that's on the west side of the airport. It connects 1730 West, which comes down from 3800 North. It's that one on the west end that's orange. The construction is complete as you come off the state highway going south, but then that orange link all the way down to 5000 South is what's needed. And the developers in the area, Ritchie Group, have taken the lead and got several of these under contract already. There's 3 in your agenda packet tonight, and a couple of them have an addendum 3 that was needed today just because they did a survey and they actually calculated the number of square feet and the purchase price based on that. And so that's what addendum 3 on those 2 is about. The agreement would assign the contracts that the Ritchie Group has entered into to the city, and then the city would close on these right-of-way purchase agreements using our tax differential that will be generated from the VERC industrial park project. So we probably also will use some short-term financing to cover the gap in that before that increment starts to flow. But this would have the city take over these purchase agreements. Altogether, all 3 of them, approximately $3.2 million of right-of-way and easement. It's a combination, I should have mentioned that, combination of right-of-way for the street and all the other utilities, but also a power easement for that 138 kV shared facility that Jake Tyre mentioned with the Rocky Mountain Power.
Vaughn, I'm just making sure I understand it correctly. So we purchase this today, it goes under contract, or it goes through the contract process. The money, the $3+ million that you just talked about, that would be paid back once that tax differential is coming through?
Right, yeah. We're looking at some short-term loans to give us the cash to close these.
So it's not necessarily taxes today. Taxes today will help cover it right now, but in the future it will be paid back. So that
It'll
tax
be paid
might be used otherwise.
by that tax differential. So
perfect. Thank you.
As the properties build out, they'll generate that additional tax revenue.
Thank you, Vaughn.
There are some funds that will come to us from the county as well as from, as Vaughn has mentioned, the tax differential. And so the contracts here on this image are really for the lines. I think it's the orange line, right?
Yep.
Just that orange line. This map shows a number of road projects in the VERC area. There are 3 or 4 properties along that orange line that were specifically in these contracts. These contracts will be covered completely by some revenues that will come from the fifth sales tax. But those revenues will come over 3 years based on an agreement I think we'll have shortly with the county. So that's where the money will come from.
Thank you.
All right, I misspoke.
No, you're good, Vaughn.
So, Vaughn, all willing sellers, no condemnation.
Nope.
Typically, the city would be having these conversations with the landowner, but in this case, the developer was.
Yep.
They came to a mutual agreement on the acquisition of this property.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think maybe adding to that thought, that's maybe a very specific way of describing it and how no condemnation or eminent domain can be used, because these were arrived at with two private parties.
That's true.
Right. They weren't initiated through us at all.
No. Any other questions?
Thank you, Vaughn. Important questions, important points to make out there, certainly for this area of land.
I'm not. I want to ask a question, but I don't want to sound like I'm accusing anyone of anything, because I'm not. I'm just. This can be I think if you're a property owner out there, it could be fairly intimidating to have a developer, a large developer like this, to come to you and say, I need this property. Please sign this. And I'm curious if the landowners felt pressure, or, I mean, do we know how that negotiation went down?
I think so. And Vaughn, I know you've been in all the same meetings.
Well, we've been there.
No.
Okay.
No, but all the same meetings where we've talked about this with the developer, and there are no tools that the developer can employ that are pressure.
Sure.
Right. So yeah, for sure. In helping to understand their agents, the agents that were used, helping to explain things. At the end of the day, I think this is probably how I would sum up how I've understood the feelings expressed. All the landowners understand the value that comes to their property as roads and utilities come to them. That their farm ground is worth X, but a road and utilities immediately adjacent to that farm ground makes it worth some number much larger than just X. And I think that's how I've understood that the majority of the conversations have kind of focused around that. Yep. That they generally don't want to stop farming today, but they see this as an opportunity to help set up a future where when they are, it's ready to go and it's better set for them to sell it. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, yes.
assessment?
In fact, and to help them stay where they are today, we're paying the rollback taxes on the part that we acquire, but we're also helping them stay in Greenbelt where by swapping some land around so they can continue to do what they are doing for as long as they want, but they will capture that value when it does come time to develop for them.
Yeah, and I think all of these contracts had elements of them like we're going to fix this fence, we're going to put in a gate here, different things like that, right?
That's what you're reading on most of these contracts here are we're going to buy this piece of property and then a 6-wire barbed fence, access gates. It indicates that hey, you're getting the road through here, but I'm still farming this property and I can't have things get in or out of here, but I need gate access.
Okay. So I can't put words into the landowners' mouths, but that's how I've understood things, and yeah.
But I think that's a good point. I think it's a good point. Good question to ask, Shane, is Councilman Marshall, is that these documents in this public meeting, while these are private contracts that now eventually involve public roadways, this is the time where the public can now see these, right? You can go see what was offered here, and that's a good point, that because it's between private parties, the only tool that could be used was currency. It was here's money, and so I'd encourage the public, if you have questions about that, and those lines on that map are drawn in places that I hunted pheasants and still walk around today. So if you look at that map and have questions, now these are public documents, look at the purchase contracts as well, and it'll give you a little bit more detail of what's going on out there.
Vaughn or Seth, talking about the lines on the maps, was what was shown there as far as where the road would be. Was that originally what was in the plan? Did it work out the way it was set up to be, or did they have to make adjustments based on some property owners not wanting to be involved, and so they moved the road? Or
yeah, I think generally speaking, it's where things were hoped to be. There's a little bit of movement here or there, but I think not in large part.
Okay.
Yeah. And there will be some more of these that will come, probably next year. As the road needs to move its way further south, and then as the road needs to move its way to the east. And generally speaking, every conversation that I hear about the land transactions are kind of how I explain that generally they want to have the road there because they understand what that does to their property value. Now, timing is always, I think, an issue. I'm not quite ready yet for that, but we can usually work with that.
So I know it's been mentioned, but I just want to clarify because occasionally I hear this from the public. there was no threat of eminent domain or anything else to acquire these properties because it was a private purchase or a private agreement between the developers and the property owners.
That's correct. That's right. Yeah. And I mean, I think to the overstatement that you're making, maybe let me clarify. We haven't used eminent domain in any of the property purchases that we've been through as we've been talking with residential properties, with the exception of some ground where there were negotiated eminent domain discussions, like, hey, if you can do this, it will help me achieve these things.
Where the property owner was asking for it.
And there was a project that we did several years ago. There was a project that we did several years ago. We completed it probably 6 or so years ago, where we acquired a number of homes. By that I mean, let's say 8, maybe 10. And the last home, that last seller took a position of, I'm the last home, you're going to pay me a very high price for it, which is why eminent domain, I believe, exists for communities like this, to not get to the end of the project and have somebody take advantage of the public because they are the last home to be purchased, right? But even when eminent domain is used, which we didn't, but in that case it was discussed, but even if eminent domain is used, and Shane, I know with your previous projects and life, you probably know the process better, but generally when eminent domain is used, the person whose home or property is purchased makes more money than they would have otherwise. It's probably not a general rule that way, but eminent domain is a very generous rule too. The compensation is always very fair.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Thank you. Yeah.
That's fair.
I appreciate the questions, again, the comments here, and the map. I know from the small amount I've heard before this was the attempt to split properties and be down property lines, not split fields in the middle there. I think that was purchaser and seller desires, and it looks like they probably did a good job of doing that most of the time where they could.
Yeah, and where there isn't, there's discussion of severance, which is you're leaving a property less usable, and so there are discussions of that, and usually the acreage of the land,
different price.
Yeah, it accounts for that, making sure that it's still usable. Yeah, and I think we always offer to just simply buy it. Like if we cut your land in a diagonal, then a lot of times we just try to buy the whole. Let's say it's 10 acres, and our road goes kind of on a diagonal. We end up buying the whole 10 acres. And then we have the remnant parcels that we'll end up selling at some future date, and that's what we did. If you think about Spanish Fork Parkway, where the accounting firm Larson CPA just opened up their building, all of that land was all remnant parcels that we acquired all of the land for Spanish Fork Parkway, and they were kind of oddly shaped when we were done because we built a road through there. So we had, from the previous parcels, some maybe it was a half acre here and 3/4 of an acre there that together added up to something that was usable. But we had all these individual remnant parcels that we had to buy the whole amount just to build that road. But we kept the remnants and then sold them when development was ready. And we do that. We always offer that. Sometimes those that sell the ground like that option, and others, like in some of the cases here, I think they said, no, we want to keep the remnants, but we'll deal with maybe some issues of severance to make sure that it's always usable.
Very good. Okay, any other questions or comments about item C on new business? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the assignment of real estate purchase contracts as outlined.
I'll go ahead and move to approve assignments of real estate purchase contracts.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Beck and seconded by Councilman Marshall. A roll call vote here. Councilman Tooke.
Yes.
Councilman Cardon.
Yes.
Councilman Oyler.
Yes.
Councilwoman Beck.
Yes.
And Councilman Marshall.
Yes.
Item C is approved.
Jake, Jared, you guys any thoughts or anything you want to add on these? I know these touch both of your areas. Okay.
Kind of stayed here for it.
We just approved it. What are they going to say?
I know. I just remembered.
Okay, if there's no other business that needs to come in front of City Council tonight, we have a closed session, and I would entertain a motion to go into closed session.
I move to adjourn to closed session to discuss the purchase or exchange or lease of real property, including any form of water rights or water shares.
Motion made by Councilman Cardon.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Oyler to adjourn to closed session. Roll call vote here. Councilman Marshall.
Yes.
Councilwoman Beck.
Yes.
Councilman Oyler.
Yes.
Councilman Cardon.
Yes.
And Councilman Tooke.
Yes.
We're adjourned. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate it.